Maybe.
Nope.
Yeah, we are live.
Yeah.
All right. Hello, everybody in Facebook land. We are the Podguyz Podcast, bringing it to you as we do every Monday, 10:15 Eastern Standard Time. I am Tony Kaz.
Kevin Neary here.
Of course, we are still missing the Le Picasso.
Where is Sparky?
Are you? Where are you?
Tony.
Where in the world is Sparky San Diego?
Tony pulled a Superman 2 and just hologrammed him on a shirt right there.
I did. Where are you, Sparky?
Like a bad episode of Who's Afraid of the Dark? Are You Afraid of the Dark? Nickelodeon.
I'm right here.
You making that voice on a t-shirt is probably the most he ever talks in the show.
That's true. That's probably true.
Because as the shirt says, I draw what I see. He normally is our on-the-spot artist there.
If you know Sparky, you know where he is. Hug him, love him.
Yeah, he's at camp.
Yeah.
He's at camp right now. Good.
Just love him. Love him for who he is. Guys, we are joined by a third square this week. We have a fantastic musical accompaniment, of course. Nissim Torres. He is the head singer, songwriter, creator of Flowtone. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Was all of that was it as magical as you thought of an entrance?
Yeah, I will say one correction because I wasn't the original founder of the group. So not a creator per se, even though I currently the rest of it was right though. Yeah, the rest of it was right. Just not an original founder of the group.
So wait, who was the original founder then?
So
it's a complicated question.
It is,
yeah, with many left turns.
You know what? It feels like one of those things like, but wait a second. Your last name's not McDonald. So who the hell did you, how did this happen?
Yeah, my last name's not Flowtone.
The Croc kind of looks like he invented the Croc shoe, you know?
Yeah, the band kind of got passed along, past different hands, and the guy who started it, Rob, you know, a few years later, kind of, you know, as bands do, you got, you know, emotional arguments and heated discussions, and at one point he left, and but the bassist who Sean Perez, who's currently in the group, and had been in the group for some time, like he might as well have been a founder, even though he wasn't there from like the get-go. He continued it, and I was there as well. And so now, you know, the original founder isn't even with the group, but it's changed so much that it kind of doesn't matter anymore. It's kind of a different group. We just kept the same name. And
I gotta ask you, where were you before this group? You know, like, were you doing solo stuff? Where were you before Flowtone?
Yeah, I was pretty much just starting my career. I was 19, so I didn't really have like a career per se. I was going to school for something else, for engineering, and I didn't.
Ooh, engineering sounds like hey, what are you gonna go? That sounds like a pressured situation.
It does sound by your parents.
Yeah,
kind of, yeah, but you know, like internally as well. But actually, at the time, my stepdad was an engineer, so there was this sort of like kind of expectation, and it was kind of like if I wasn't a musician, that's probably what I would do. Or like if I had to pick up some sort of trade that wasn't music, that's probably where I would end up going. But I knew, like, you know, in the back of my mind, I just, you know, you just kind of know. I mean, you don't, maybe don't tell the people around you, but
you can't. No, I totally understand. You can't tell people what you really want to do, because if you do, it's basically like talking to an ignorant fuck. You know, they're going to look at you in such a tone, and then they're going to say such stuff like, and I'll categorize it to you because I've told people what I'd like to do. And then, you know, people already form an opinion about you, which, you know, is not your true self all around, especially at 19 years old. So here's what you're going to hear from people if you're 19. And if you're 19 out there right now, don't let these replies discourage you. All right. This is what you'll hear. Oh, well, one day maybe, right? Something like that. Or if you work really hard, or I heard you have to hang out with Puff Daddy. Is that true? To get into the music industry, but the tone is always condescending. Very few people actually are supportive, but they'll still say supportive words like, "Oh, tell me where you're playing next and I'll be there." How many times have you heard that? Never have they shown up. How many times? Right. 8 or 9. I mean, you can throw a fucking number out there. I'll believe you. It is definitely a thing though when you're a young Nissim. How old are you right now? You 26 or something?
I just turned 30. So
holy shit, man, that guy looks. He doesn't look. You don't look like you hit 30 years old yet.
Yeah, you look mid-20s.
You look like you should do Calvin Klein commercials. You know that? Jesus Lord,
thank you.
It's always the best looking of people, Tony, that gets successful. That's why you and I are just, Yeah,
we're horrible.
We're working on our personalities a lot, if you catch my drift. But once Alzheimer's hits, we're gonna get divorced from our wives and all sorts of. Well, our wives are gonna divorce us, throw us in a home, and take that disability check they've been working so hard at.
Probably.
Listen,
fair.
if you've got wives, so that sounds pretty good to me.
How about is there a Mrs. Torres or no?
No, I mean, if there's a girlfriend, even if they're even when we get married, I don't think she's taking my name. But that's there's a long past with my name, and I don't think I want to get into it. But I don't have a personal like connection with my name, so I'm kind of like, yeah, whatever. She has a cool name too.
Take her name then, be a different guy.
Yeah, right. Her last name is Road, which is it's.
Oh, dude, you got to take that name. Yeah, right? Take that name.
Yeah.
Take it, Nissim Road, dude. Come on, that sounds like.
I know, right? It's like I might have an easier time getting.
It sounds
success.
Like you're either a race car driver or a porn star, that quit porn and now races cars, but on like a lower level. Because he can't be like, he races cars, great, and he also he used to do a lot of porn.
It could be in the NASCAR series.
Yeah, why not?
Actually, that would put me in dangerously in the category of like, because people obviously already associate Nissim with Nissan, and then Road. Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of backing away from that point a little bit.
Just steal their money and retire already. It's So are you the lead singer? Are you the lead guitarist? What is your major role in Flowtone?
So, I'm the only guitarist, so I guess I occupy both rhythm and lead roles as far as that. But so Sean, over the past few years, has stepped up to kind of a co-lead singer. I would say I still sing probably about 75% of the songs on lead. But he has songs of his own, and we co-write a lot as well. Like most of the songs that come through Flowtone that get released through us are co-written. I mean, it's never the case of like, hey, this is the song, let's release it how I wrote it. It always goes through several hands before it makes it, onto a record or onto a, streaming service. But
I am going to interrupt you for 1 second because the past few days I have been listening to Flowtone on Spotify, by the way. You guys could look at it. FLOWTONE, Flowtone. Some fantastic songs, a very bluesy type of finish with like an acoustic feel. I love it. Love it, love it. I was really, really jamming out, man. It was cool.
Thank you, Tony. I appreciate that. Yeah. So I guess my main other role is co-songwriter. And I mean it's definitely on the behind the curtains, got a lot of responsibilities as most musicians have to do nowadays, which not complaining about, just saying got to do all these things behind the curtains, as far as online presence and all that. But yeah,
the song, the song Eats Me Alive. Eats Me Alive. Did you write that one?
I would say, yeah, most of it. I brought that song I mean, who knows? Like it started as something completely different. Not even it didn't start as something I made, and I
Would you
kind
mind
of
if I read off some of the lyrics here so that way if
yeah,
it
yeah, go ahead.
So we got a fear wakes up a tangled knot and sends you in some spiraling thought, not made to stop until you vent, but your feeble sense of self can't admit there's something wrong. You'd rather grit your teeth than let them in and bite your tongue. And then I'm guessing this is the chorus coming in, but the fear is building up inside. Da, 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 da. See,
Yeah.
I don't even have to listen to it. I used to do music back in the day. And you know what? Hats off to you for actually getting along with people. I had a very tough time collaborating with people that were huffing glue out of rags and saying, "How about we do it like this?" And you're like, "What the fuck is wrong?" Well, I was more like, "What the fuck is wrong with you? Why? Why can't you play the drums without huffing glue all the time?"
Nissim, not that you're throwing anybody under the bus. Not that you're
I'm not saying I'm not
Yeah,
naming
yeah,
any
yeah.
names. Dude, we were on tour the one time down. I'm coming on our way back from Kentucky into West Virginia. We stopped at a gas station, right? Not naming any names. We met one person went wandering out to the woods, and we went calling his name for hours on end. Okay, now we got some stuff, that Mario and Luigi used to eat in the trunk because why not, right? A lot of it too. Anyways, so we can't keep calling out for dude for that much longer. It's not going to happen. I'm like, we got to fucking go. We have to go. We're in a different state. I don't need a cop coming by and be like, hey, yeah, sounds like a sober guy out there just wanders off into a fucking field. So here we're gone. And everyone's like, oh man, he's probably dead. Oh man, he's probably dead. 4 years later, I catch him downtown Pittston. I'm like, dude, what the fuck happened? He's like, I don't even. I guess he ended up hitchhiking from West Virginia to Pittsburgh, then caught a bus from Pittsburgh and ended up somewhere in Williamsport. Anyways, he said it took him about a year and a half to kind of get home. And I'm like, what the fuck? I said, you don't want to. This was before everyone had a cell phone and everyone had an extra cell phone charger and all sorts of stuff. So have you ever had anything crazy like that happen on tour with you?
Oh man. Well, I do have one tour story, and really it was the only time that we went on tour. Uh, it- this relates to the band changing members and all that. Um, we went on tour, and I think like the second or third stop in, our drummer got his finger smashed into a car door. Um, and so we were debating whether he should play or not because we're like, oh, if it's broken, like it was swollen up and all that, and we're like, well, if it's broken, you probably don't want to do more damage to it, and if it's not a big deal. So basically, we ended up going through without him, and we just did a drummerless show, and it was fine. But our bassist and our other guitarist at the time had mixed opinions about it. One, basically they both took different sides of like whether he should play or not.
So do the
And
bassist want the drummer to end up playing anyways, or just lightly? Because bass and drum combination is kind of like one relies on the other to a degree.
yeah, that's what you would think, but I think he was erring more on the side of precaution, and so his opinion was, let's sit the show out. It's not the end of the world. Go check to see if just go get an X-ray or whatever. Go to the doctor, see what's wrong with it before you proceed, basically. And then the guitarist was like, he wasn't necessarily on the opposite side of it, but more so on the side of like, let the drummer decide, because like I think that our drummer was, and probably still is, he was a bit stubborn, like, oh, I'm gonna do it no matter what, and we were just like, all right, yeah. So that's kind of where they took sides, and yeah, long story short, I mean, it kind of blew up into an argument between those two, and the guitarist ended up quitting. The singer kind of left with him, and yeah, I wasn't the singer at the time, so I kind of stepped into that role after they quit. So, in a way, sort of a good thing for me, but at the time, it did kind of seem like the end of the world. It was like, when you go through a really bad breakup and you're like, this is it, I'm never gonna be happy again. And then, I mean, a few days later, I was like, all right, maybe we could get the guys back together, and like whoever is willing to come back together. So yeah, we continued as a trio for quite some time after that. Um,
Now,
But yeah,
of
nothing.
course, like the dynamic changes once that happens. So once you're on that journey and you're like, oh man, we're gonna start touring. We're making some original music. We're entering into competitions. We're doing we're trying to get stuff on an EP. And you're trying to lay the track and the foundation for rolling things ahead. How did that change the dynamic when that happened in comparison to like where you are now,
Yeah, I mean, when I first stepped into that role, I kind of had a lot to prove. Like I had to prove to the other guys that I could do it basically, because at the time I was singing backing vocals, so it wasn't like I was coming from like zero experience.
Yeah.
And I had wanted to do that anyway. Like that was my goal eventually to be the lead singer. I just didn't know, of this band, or like I didn't know how I was gonna get to that role eventually. But that's it, I sort of was. It sort of felt like I had to prove myself, and then slowly but surely I kind of, we did our first song, "Fool That I Am," which is on streaming services as well, and that kind of laid the track for like, oh, this sounds good. Like, we basically took the song that we previously recorded, took the vocals out. We used the vocals in the chorus just to pay some homage to the old singer, and like not like it's still a personal thing, so you kind of want to still show that respect. But then I redid the verses and the bridge, and we released it as that, and it kind of was like the proof of concept, like, oh, this could work. And then
I think I'm slowly figuring out why you are not 1000% famous right now. You actually have respect and class all around. Okay. You see some people, they push themselves to the front of the line and you're like, how the fuck am I watching or listening to this crap right now? Because I've listened to me and Tony, we have similar tastes in music, and your vocals are right on cue. Okay. You're probably better than the person before time, and you're not giving yourself enough credit on that because you have, respect of the foundation of this band all around. But I tell you what, man, I am totally down with the sound and your vocals, to pick out from what I've heard and to hear you right now. I'm like, Jesus Christ, are they even the same guy? And, I know you are, but and the voice is, now people don't like to take that as an instrumental, but without a lead in, without vocals, you have to really, it's a muscle. You can't outwear it. Look at Miley Cyrus. She kind of sounds like this now, and you're like, what the fuck happened to Miley?
I didn't even pay attention to that, but yeah. Either way,
she sounds like she had 40 packs of Pall Mall.
Dolly Parton sounds amazing for like 80,000 years old, because what the fuck? What is she doing that's different? And she didn't over tour herself. She never tried to get herself into a bad mood. Is there any bands that you guys have been told that you kind of sound like? Because I'm getting these Theory of a Dead Man, Perfect Circle vibes from you guys. Is that close at all, or no?
I mean, I'm not. Those might be kind of niche bands because I'm not familiar with them. But well, first, thanks for the compliment. I appreciate that. And I do think like you got to make some you got to make some decisions for the team and some decisions for yourself as well. And it's particularly, I won't get into the details of it, but it's particularly relevant now where I'm kind of coming to that point where it's like, you got to really kick things into gear, because you're not, you can't be this small local band forever. If you really want to do it, you have to kind of weed out who you need to weed out. And
you're right, man. Clock is ticking. The old saying is, if you don't make it by the time you're 28, and that's an old saying, by the way, it does not be the rule, because sometimes people make it before they're 28 and they don't live past the age of 28. But that is the area that most record companies look for. And now you got you have many different platforms now. You have Spotify, iHeartRadio. We're doing through Zoom. We try to have as many people on as possible, as many views and as much promotion out there. I mean, it could become very cluttered and discourage people. But if you have confidence in how much talent you actually do have, it's not much competition then. As long as you see somebody or hear somebody that you know is worse than you, then just keep on going. That spotlight's gonna
They're
hit
horrible, but I'm way better.
Oh my god, dude! I've done that. So I do stand-up comedy, Nissim, and I've been doing that for 14 years now, and I've seen some very brilliant comedians before. I've opened for them before, and it's just like I've seen some bad ones too. Which sometimes the bad ones grow into being a little bit better, but sometimes they just don't, and
The bad ones sometimes even make you better in general.
they make
you have
look.
And not to cut you off, Kevin, I'm trying to say that like sometimes there's an opportunity that presents itself, and you see yourself and you're like, oh man, I got to get this train rolling. I got the tracks laid out before me. Things are going well. And then you see somebody bad and you're like, man, I know I'm better than that. Way better. And all you have to do is just keep on persisting. You have to be adamant.
And I'm sure if you've done these, if Nissan, you've probably done these competitions. Have you ever done competitions before where you have to go up against band or band on band thing or no?
Yeah, I've done a few. Actually, we did. It's so stupid now thinking about it, but we did America's Got Talent, and we were so wrong for I was like, they're not gonna pick. This is not what this competition is about. Like picking.
So yeah, no, you're 1,000% right, man. See so a lot of people they assume that America's Got Talent is open range talent competition, and the best talent will show themselves because the judges are there and all that nice stuff. When in reality, it's they want you to go through their photographers and their publicists and sign off on a lot of releases where now they have part ownership. NBC, CBS, Fox, they all have these. Any major agencies have these little taglines on the end of contracts. It's basically residual commission. It's also known as the fuck you, they're taking a bonus just because they gave you national TV exposure at one point in time. And it kind of does work out to a degree if you continuously promote yourself as once seen on America's Got Talent. But it still feels like if not for yourself, the show doesn't happen. If not for everybody willing to participate, their show concept doesn't happen. So basically, they get free talent to come on there, do their thing, and still find a way to make money for themselves while providing that reality, dreams come true in America feeling for everyone watching.
Yeah, right place, right time, right opportunity. But in the whole limelight of that, I mean, you have 5,000 people probably coming out to an event like that at any given time. And you know what? That's 5,000 more people to see your God-given talents as well that you had zero before. So, I mean, you also have to take it with that, that particular pride. Say, hey, man, this is what I have. This is what I'm offering. I think it sounds great. You have to stand behind your product. And then, like I said, move forward.
Now, Nissim, I know that you've had a pretty good career so far, but being on the Podguyz podcast right now, would you consider this the peak of your career?
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Oh, we got one. All right, yeah. Put him on the list.
We got another one.
Yeah, that sounds great. From here. Wait for it.
Yeah.
We like to do a 1-year check-in, and it's not
I hope
good.
I hope it's not the peak, as in I'm falling off the other end of the peak.
Oh!
So in that sense, I hope it's more so that I'm on the that it'll continue to go up. But yeah, I mean, I do consider like every day to be further along. If you really put into perspective, like where you were a month ago, a year ago, I mean, it should, obviously it's not perfectly linear, but it should be like improving on yourself. And so, yeah, if you're not doing better than you were a year ago or 5 years ago, then you probably have to take a little bit.
We specifically mean it as the verb, and I'll read off the verb for you there. Reach a highest point either of a specified value or at a specified time. Now, I already heard a yes, so I'm just going to take it.
Yeah.
Put it in my pocket.
Yeah.
Tesla in
take
there.
the win and yeah. But
that's a W.
yeah, just take the win. Yeah. No more. I won't elaborate any further.
All right. You're like, I'm going to say yes, but also no.
Yeah. But yeah,
So
when
I know you have things on the horizon. Of course, your dreams of taking it, just an inch further, man, always an inch further, is a great inspiration to a lot of band people. There's a lot of people who get to that position where they're like, oh man, we lost an integral part of our team, or we've lost like an integral drummer, singer, guitarist. And not to say that there's not a million people out there, but there's only one right person at that point in time too. So, are you searching to relieve the third person in your band?
are you asking if we're kicking someone out?
Yeah, no. Are you taking someone on?
Oh, are we taking? Because you said we're
I said there are people who would leave the band, and you get that dynamic with somebody, where you're like, oh man, I feel like we need a third person. And you said it's just you and your bassist right now, right?
Well, yeah, we've at the core, like, as far as the people who are making the calls, but we have a drummer. We're actually, the thing about drummer, it's like you always need a sub for that drum. It's like, because drummers are busy. I don't know, they're in like a lot of
busy.
groups. They're busy. They're like they're not attached to any particular group, and so but then we recently and it's not really much in our marketing materials, but it's on our social media. Like, we have a saxophonist and a keyboardist that we recently added, and so they're new to the picture. But as far as like, who's kind of writing all the songs and making the things work, it's me and the bassist. But I will say this though, if I were to go, like, from all the lessons I've learned from being in this group and just in groups in general, if I were to kind of make my perfect band and set it up for success, I would absolutely start as a three-piece, because you've got all the elements you need: guitar, bass, drums, and then anyone else outside of that, I would essentially keep as a hired gun. And yeah, because it's just, I just feel
you
like
said it
that's
perfectly. Yeah, no, that's
yeah.
as good as it gets right there, man. That's
Yeah.
and it's
Not
just
to say there's
idea.
too many
Keep
cooks in
your-
the kitchen sometimes too.
Yeah, you keep
Especially
your
when
nucleus. You keep your nucleus tight, and then anything that you think might sound good, just grab them up, throw them in the studio, see if it sounds all right. I mean, I remember. Oh my god, and this might be a little too old for you. I mean, maybe you remember it, where you could do different drum maps. Are you familiar with drum maps at all, or no?
Is that a software thing? Like,
Yeah. Oh my
yeah.
god. Now talk about a fucking talk about a program where you just have to spend hours and hours and hours on end, and you're just like, wow. And I finally got through 30 seconds. It's like, man, you could do that with any instrument, and the whole software program seems fantastic. You're like, of course, why wouldn't I buy this?
Kevin's trying to say a beat pad.
No, much better sounding than a beat pad, but much more specific of timing and literally everything. You literally have to create a human that can play the drums, and you're like, well, why wouldn't I just, by the time it's all said and done, you're like, I should have just fucking, bought a drum set and played it myself. It's neighbors wouldn't appreciate that. Have you ever had a problem with neighbors during your sessions of practicing?
Yeah, we had neighbors below this room, because this is the room that I primarily practice in myself, not the whole band, but just myself. And they came up a couple times, and they're like, hey, if you could cut it off at 10 p.m., like we work early or whatever. They ended up moving out though, and man, I was so relieved, because like, it's not that I didn't like, it's just when you rub someone the wrong way like that, it's really hard to get past that. And then I remember the first thing they said to us was, when I moved in, was I was like, oh, hey, we're new to this building, And they were like, "Oh yeah, it's been so nice not having any neighbors upstairs. It's been so quiet and peaceful." I was like, "Ooh, that's some passive aggressive."
Yeah, don't get used to that shit.
Yeah. So yeah, and I was like, "Oh
No.
man, this if the second he finds out what I do,
It's like
gonna...
goddamn river dance up there.
Yeah.
You know what you should have done? You should have, if they knocked on your door and said, "Hey guys, can you cut it out?" You should have been like, "Cut what out? I heard some music." Oh, I didn't hear shit. You know, what are you talking about? You know, we aren't even playing. We were
In the walls.
You should have you should have like turned off all your lights and answered it like, "Listen, I'm trying to sleep. What's the problem?" "Oh, you guys weren't playing music?" "No." "Do you hear music?" You should have made them think that they're going out of their goddamn minds.
Yeah. That would, yeah, we could have done that.
Yeah. A missed opportunity. What the hell? Missed opportunity.
Yeah. Yeah. But
Points
you know,
out the board.
to make things worse
doesn't
though,
sound like an asshole though.
yeah, it could have been like gaslighting, I guess. It would have been like,
Yeah, it would have
like,
just been
no, you're
lying.
the problem.
Yeah. I like the fun words that everybody came up for a line. They're like, "You've been gaslighting." Like, you know, it's just fucking, it's just a cute word for lying. Like,
Yeah.
why would they do that to me? It's like, because they're jerks. They don't like you. There's no respect there. But no, it's in all fun and games, you do always have that one neighbor. I had this one guy upstairs with me, Billy. Man, oh man, this guy was a jerk off. Here, I put a camera outside just in case I saw him coming down, because he would sometimes knock on the door and try to bum a cigarette off me at the time I was smoking cigarettes. So I had audio on the camera too, so I'd be able to hear him be like, "Man, I hope this motherfucker has cigarettes on him." You know, and I'm like, "Man, the scumbag, what a piece of shit." You know, nothing funner than watching a little camera while stoned as hell and a little paranoid too, and watching some fucking little weird bastard. He had like a cop mustache, but he was the opposite of a cop. You know, like he was like a couple clicks more intelligent than Cheddar Bob from 8 Mile, but not by much. And I mean, not by much at all. You know, like there was all the chromosomes were there, but they were probably squished a little bit. If you catch my drift, you know, nothing great.
We all catch what you're saying.
Are you?
You want to throw a couple more analogies out there?
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I really could, because we all know these people. We all know someone kind of like Billy, where you're like, "Man, this guy, what the fuck?" You know, and there's no cure at all.
A couple shades lighter than red.
But not officially, where you can give the check and say, "Here you go." You know, officially where you could say like, "All right, you know, you gotta still work for barely nothing." There's no check, sort of thing.
So what's on the horizon for you as far as the band is concerned? Do you have another EP? Do you have a couple more songs coming out?
We got I mean, I'm writing some music right now, and we've kind of got a local producer picked out for this next project. I think what we learned from recording the album is like, at least my perspective is, you know, you want to kind of test each batch, and I think a good number is like 3 to 4 songs, and to just like hone in on a sound without completely, you know, number one, breaking the bank, or like even more than that, like, you know, cashing in too quickly on some material where you don't quite know where it's going to go yet. So I think that's ultimately the goal is record those 3 that we have now, and then kind of test run those and see if that's kind of, because I don't know, you have to kind of develop a new direction every time you release music, and so that's kind of the plan, as well as, you know, play regionally here in the Midwest. We planned some shows in the on the East Coast, not anything solidified yet, but we've got our manager working on that right now. But yeah, just kind of like continue to create, and seeing where that goes. I you know, being in Chicago's a pretty good city for music, and there's a lot of demand for like solo performers as well. So I've kind of had my hands full as far as getting opportunities like those as well. and so I have to kind of I've had to kind of balance these two, like, you know, the band stuff and the soul, and they kind of do meld into one at the end of the day. That is kind of my wish, is that it just kind of becomes my career, is just like music. You know, it's like my favorite guitarist that I follow, his name is Julian Lage, and I heard him say once, it was like a really brilliant perspective, and he's like, if you can make what you do and what people are willing to pay you to do as close as possible, it won't seem like you're working, because you're going to be practicing the things that you would otherwise be practicing.
What if you just have a job? You get paid a lot of money, but you just slack off all the time there. I mean, that's kind of like not having a job too, right?
Yeah. Well, you know,
it's like just having a job that's highly paid and you just fuck off all the time, where they're like, hey, where's Kevin again? I'm like, I don't fucking know, man. That guy's a jerk.
Kevin, what are you talking about? You do that now.
I was going to say, that's a lot of people in corporate America. That's a whole like class of people. Like,
Nissim, you got that look where you could probably go in there like the TV show Pretender, pop a fucking tie on and be like, hey, I work here. You know, and I haven't gotten my paycheck yet. Do you know who I would talk to about that? You know,
like that Seinfeld episode where George is it? I think George, he goes into the office and I think he's pretending that he's working there. And
oh yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
he sees how far he can get, and then he's just like, yeah, I'm not sure if they hired me or not. Or
what have you been doing here the whole time?
Oh yeah, he's just shuffling.
I got this binder.
His accordion style.
So have you ever thought about breaking away and doing only solo stuff, or you enjoy the whole band idea? You just really like these guys a lot.
I've always
That's a yes. There's too much hesitation there. That's definitely a yes.
He's like, I love them. They're my family.
No, I've thought about
just so that way you can take the best parts and then make a new band name, since there's that little bit of baggage from before. People, you don't want them looking up and being like, hey, what happened here? You know?
Yeah, like, oh man, I kind of knew this was coming, because it's so fresh in my mind that it's almost like, you know, you podcast guys, and I don't mean literally just you guys. I mean people who do. You're very perceptive. And I remember the last one we did, they're like,
what?
They're like,
no.
They're like, they got somehow from the are watching our music video, and they're like, your drummer's not fully involved, is he? And we're like, how'd you know? And they're like, it's something about the performance. Yeah, but anyway, I digress a bit. But anyway, I think, obviously I do think about that, but I like the idea of having an entity that's separate from me. And because it just like, that way I don't have to like feel so personal about it, and I can let that be that. And like, if you're criticizing the music, okay, it's that, it's not me. Now, I think if I were to kind of redo my career, or like not redo, but, you know, uproot where we are now, I think I would just reform a band that's more ideally what, now that I know the industry, what I think the industry would more readily kind of take into its arms, you know, like.
The only reason I'm saying so is that I'm pretty sure you've gotten this vibe from before. I mean, you're already you got a good face for a front man. Vocals, Tony, you heard them, right? They're good. They're on target. Songwriting's there. You have the whole checklist going down. So it's, you know, it's not a lot of piecework we have to do to assume that might be something you could just easily go into for the future. Just get some studio artists around you. Only thing is so you have such artists out there: Gordon Lightfoot, Bob Dylan, Ozzy Osbourne, Alice Cooper. You don't hear Alice Cooper in the band. You don't hear James Brown and the Flames. And, you know, you hear James Brown. You know, it's like one front man. It's being able to.
But there's Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers.
Yeah, but there was also just Tom Petty albums out there too.
There was.
That was good. It was just the Heartbreakers. And then there was the Traveling Wilburys. You know, the super bands got together. People talk about super teams in the NBA right now. Let's not forget about the super bands like the damn Yankees. I don't know if you're an old school rock and roll fan, Nissim, but if not, you don't know who the fuck I'm talking about. And I'm just saying all these words, and you're like, oh yeah, you know, you put a lot of words together there, Kev. A lot of fucking improv names and shit.
I mean, Tom Petty, yeah, I'm familiar with that, but Not all.
I
the
still say,
references.
man, you should take that girl's last name, whether you stay together or not. Just take the fucking last name and be like, I got it. Fish, just
That's what I
copyright
was
it.
here for.
Get a domain name, throw it out there, trademark it. There's nothing she can do now. Be like, hey, babe, I know you weren't too committed to this whole idea, but I got what I wanted the whole time.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty sadistic, but I
that would be that'd be the correct word.
yeah.
You are not wrong.
No, I mean, like I said, you guys are pretty perceptive because I think, ultimately it's, everyone, especially at this point, we're all kind of in our late 20s to early 30s, and everyone understands it's any move you make at this point it's not personal, and like we end up staying friends with like all that the story told you about the earlier version of the band. We're still friends with them. It's not like you don't become enemies just because you left the band. It's not the same as, or maybe it is kind of the same as like an ex that you maybe got, that you're on good terms with now. But it is ultimately to be successful, and like it's easier to play the game than it is to not and complain about it. So you just gotta.
It's literally everybody placed in a room, right? If the idea, right?
Wait, Nissim, can I play a little game first?
Oh,
yeah.
This is going to be the psychological game, okay? And I'm sorry if I lay this right on the head, but I'm a people person and I'm a people watcher, so I could kind of break people down a little bit. I see what their character flaws are. And as just seeing you in this video right now, I do not know you. We haven't talked any time before this, have we?
Nope.
Zero. Okay. All right. So seeing through this particular video in the almost an hour that we've been here right now, I can tell that you're deep. You have a deep heart and passion for what you do. So, at least putting that number one on the table, you're very passionate about all of your endeavors in general. I feel like you bear the weight, a huge weight of the burden that comes along with the success and the failure of flowtone in general. Even though you were neither the originator, or you may not even be the finisher of flowtone.
I mean, no, on a serious note, I look at it like this even. The 19, they're asking you what you want to do. You say engineer. So once you say I'm in a band and we're getting paid work, they're like, whoa, okay,
Whoa!
Good. It takes off the other people in your life's anxiety away, including not causing you any vibes of imposter syndrome. Where you're like, hey, I want to be a lead singer. Everybody's like, well, okay, turn on the radio, sing along to that bullshit then, have some fun. We all want to be singers, we all want to be famous, but people don't have that same talent aspect. So security of having constant shows coming up, knowing that you are going to get a little bit of pay, a little bit of green in the game, a little bit of skin on the palm, security on top of all that, and relevance. You need to always stay relevant. There's not a moment that me and Tony have not been relevant in the podcast game, and people fucking hate it because we're amazing at it. I have great hair. He wears a hat really good. He's got glasses. I don't have glasses. A great complementary contrast between both of us. Adding Sparky in the mix, he throws out the pictures every now and then. What I'm saying is that there is no reason to want to, and you obviously know, you don't have to apologize to these guys. You've given them some great music, great work, and all that nice stuff. But you are at that point where it's either you got to go balls in, or you got to find a part-time, full-time job and just do this part-time on the side. Because life gets really smelly sometimes. And I mean smelly like, who the fuck socks are these? I hate this shit. Why am I not a millionaire?
Holy freaking corn chips.
For the love of God, where do I have to sign? If you get a phone call from P. Diddy, he's feeling a little frisky. I'm just saying, like, he was very.
Hey, man.
Listen, P. Diddy felt good enough to pick up a white Canadian boy. Like, who the fuck does that? Where there's. It's like he's like how rich am I? How much power do I have? They're like, listen, man, you got a lot of power, but I would put
I'll make you a superstar.
Where did you get this underage Canadian boy from? He's like, he's my friend. It's like, God, somebody's going to jail. Oh, fuck. But no, man, it is at that decision-making time where everybody has to kind of make up.
Wait, I had like 2 more character traits. I had 2 more character traits.
Yeah, where are you going?
I thought it was a game, Tony. Like, you know.
Where did I leave off? Number 3, I think. Number 3, you don't want to stand on toes. You don't want to step on the toes of those that have stood in your way. But I could see you as a character builder. So, you want to enhance other people around you to that particular level. But I feel like they've let you down. And I could tell that they've let you down in the past. But you need to excel them. You need to be the pusher from time to time. And I can see that.
Not to be a little funny about this, Tony, but I'm just going to throw it out there. Nissim's got to be the best looking guy in the group, because what the hell? This looks like I'm looking at a soap opera guy right now, Like you could.
It's like we are in an Abercrombie commercial right now.
You could put on a helmet for Indy car racing, take it off, and be like, "All right, guys, I know I came in last again, but."
My God, he looks like a young Ronaldo, doesn't he?
A little bit, yeah, like tennis player. You could, there is a face there. It's a good face. And
you don't play tennis, do you?
No, I've tried, but I'm more of a volleyball guy. But
okay.
Sean is our bassist. He's a pretty good looking guy, and so is our drummer.
Kevin, did you not see their video on Spotify?
I did see the video. I didn't know if the other ones were actors.
Oh, okay, gotcha. You never know.
No, I mean, I maybe they're not your taste, but no, I'm just pointing that out. It's like, it's not like
Kevin. Guess what? You're not the demographic.
Son of a bitch. What I'm saying is, there's a front man for a reason, and you don't shove the ugliest peach in the front there, unless you're Dio, and then you get some looks going on there. But that was back in the day where you didn't really need a face to follow the whole idea. People feel. If you look at anybody selling anything, all of the things that they're selling people to, all of their friends that are buying it are less attractive than they are. And you can put that down. Or if you want to watch a really good movie, find the ugly people, because their acting talent has surpassed the way that their face looks. So you really,
I guess what Kevin's trying to say is, have an ugly friend. Everybody that's watching.
It's okay. It doesn't, what I'm saying is, it doesn't hurt to also be good looking on top of talented when it comes to the music.
Oh my God, Kevin, is this why you hang out with me?
This is the only reason I hang out with you, Tony. I just can't stop staring at your face.
Damn it.
For one reason or another.
It enhances your physical beauty to be around someone this ugly.
Actually, I hang out with you because of your glasses. I can see my own reflection. I'm like, damn.
I knew that's what it was. I knew it. Son of a bitch.
It's interesting. I was getting complete, honestly, what you were saying, Tony, did definitely resonate with me. I feel like, it could resonate with a number of people, but I do feel like that was pretty spot on. But then the juxtaposition of what you're saying, Kevin, of I wouldn't even, I don't know, just the nonsensical direction that you took that.
Oh yeah. I have nothing but nonsense to say most of the time.
Yeah, it's a good yin yang. It's like, oh wow, like I was like almost brought to a tear, and then you're like, hey, let me just throw this curveball in there.
We're not here to make people cry, Tony.
No. But you know what? We see this a lot. Necessarily, we've interviewed hundreds of people. We've done bands, we've done actors, actresses, directors, writers, magicians. You name it. We've talked to them in general, but we've seen the same type of person to persevere. And you're that person. You're that type of person. And whether you may not know it, or you may know it, You have to have that sense and sensibility and that accountability as well for something to lay the tracks forward and then follow through.
The
and
old
I think
saying
that's
of
super duper important.
the saying of may modesty be the best spotlight was not in reference to the entertainment industry. It was just make yourself the whole spotlight. Make sure that you are shoving yourself in everybody's faces. And I know you're doing that. There's only so many hours in the day. But if you could, there's some crystal meth in Florida that you really got to get your hands on. And that'll really speed things up, metaphorically and physically as well. Your heart will feel like it's going to leave your chest. You might go to jail, but no, wait, don't.
By the way, not good advice.
No, terrible advice. That's the bad
Horrible.
advice of today. I try to tell as many children that, but I like to say it in a convincing.
And also stay away from mushrooms.
Yeah, no, don't stay away from mushrooms. What are you, crazy?
All of them. Stay
Perfectly
away from all
fine, until you're
mind enhancing, please.
till you find yourself trying to get back to high by huffing some cement glue that you found in a rag.
Yeah.
A lot of cement glue rag jokes there today. That's perfectly fine. But speaking of that,
I'm
happy
sorry, is
belated
it chloroform?
happy belated birthday, the big 8-0 to Gary Busey. Gary Busey turned 80 years old 3 days ago. And
He's
happy
a chronic
departure.
watcher of the show, by the way.
He is a very vivid watcher of the show. Him and Kanye West, I swear to you, everything that we've ever talked about when it refers to Kanye West, motherfucker is always addressing it on Twitter after the fact. Not mentioning our names, but just saying that he hears some people from the press saying...
I just want it once. I want one name mentioned. That's all I would need from Kanye.
Happy departures from a person who did make it to 80, probably lived a cleaner lifestyle. Martin Mull. Martin Mull passed away at the age of 80 while Gary Busey's still alive. You fucking explain that to me. And
Crazy.
And of course, 98 years old. Mel Brooks turns 98 years old. It feels like just last year he was 97, but holy crap, 98 years old. If you have seen younger pictures of Mel Brooks, he's always looked like that. He's always had that funny looking face to him.
Nissim, are you a comedy guy? Do you like comedy movies?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I follow the comedy scene pretty closely. Comedy podcasts, stand up, movies, shows, all that. Yeah, it's kind of my.
Where do you rate Spaceballs within that hierarchy of comedy movies?
Spaceballs, in the hierarchy. I mean, it's a spoof, so it's so particular to that category. But in the spoof category, I do like how it's a bit more original than. I mean, the scary movies kind of got redundant, but
yeah.
I do like how Spaceballs kind of laid the tracks for that type of movie. I mean, I'm not a history buff with film, but I feel like that was kind of one of the first of its kind. So it's pretty up there because it kind of paved the way for that sort of stuff. Yeah, and like.
No, you're right though. There wasn't too many studios out there that wanted to put money into, hey, we're gonna make a movie that makes fun of Star Wars and is kind of just like Star Wars. Nobody really says like, oh, let me here's all my money. This sounds like a successful idea right there. Because it doesn't. It immediately sounds like a terrible idea. Or Mel Brooks' idea with the Airplane movie. There's just been hit after hit, and there's some misses along the way. But who's your besides myself? Who's your favorite stand-up comedian right now?
It's okay. So I think I would separate it into categories because I think stand-up and podcasting is kind of a different art. But I do really like Stavros. I don't know if you've heard of Stavi's World. It's a podcast. It's pretty hilarious. I've always been a big fan of Bill Burr.
Bill Burr, he does what you call he starts up here when it comes to tone and intensity, because he kind of starts like this, and he says the words over and over again. Like he starts up here and then lowers it down. There is a little bit of and from a music perspective, you could appreciate that there is a little bit of a rhythm science to the idea.
Yeah, the inflection and the pitch and all of it. And I think
Right.
that's kind of why I appreciate comedy so much, is because it relates so much to music and the timing of jokes and even just you know, the planning of a set. It's very similar to how I would approach planning a music set. Yeah, so those are just a couple names, but I mean, yeah, I'm pretty open to a lot of different types of comedy and like, but yeah, if you haven't checked out Stavros, he's pretty
Right
funny.
on. Yeah. Who was the one band when you were a kid that you listened to and you said, "Oh shit, I have to do this"? Who was that one band?
You know, it's it's kind of
It doesn't
embarrassing.
have to be, a cool answer. It's just like, the one band where you were like sitting there and you're like, shit, this is something.
Yeah, I want to preface this by saying I've definitely fallen out of love with this band
I would, yeah, everybody
since
grows
then.
up.
But yeah, but Foo Fighters was the first band where I was like, I like rock. They actually the first band that introduced me to rock, because they are very quintessentially like what rock music is.
Yeah.
And I remember the song "The Pretender" was the first song where I was like, "Oh my God, I need to do this." And yeah, they were the first band that, and I've seen them like I think 2 or 3 times live when I was
When you
younger.
hear something like that and you're from the creative side and competition hits your head, you not only say like, I gotta do this, you gotta say, I gotta do something better than this, even, like, and you feel like you can, or want to work to the ability where people forget about the Foo Fighters and they start thinking Nissim Torres, they start thinking that idea or whatever you're at, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
I
go
think that there gets a point where you're like 1 out of 100 people, a person who is so driven for the musical industry, while you see 99 other people where they're like, oh man, do we have to practice today? I got other things to do. I'm so busy. When they're watching like TV shows at home, hanging out with their whatever.
Like as far as comedy perspectives go, right? I've heard three of basically the same type sets, right? All out of different people. George Carlin, Robin Williams, Leo Gallagher, of course, can't be ignored, where he had these like thinky kind of jokes, and then you had Richard Pryor type, where it's like thinky, but it's philosophical, but towards a different demographic, of course. And
Your favorite, most favorite comedian, Bill Cosby.
I love Bill Cosby as far as his storytelling goes, and
And that is all.
and that is, well, listen, everybody knew what was going on with the guy. He had a whole album called Spanish Fly, and if you ever listen to the album, it's on YouTube, Nissim. I want you to go on YouTube, look up Bill Cosby Spanish Fly. It's about an hour and a half long. All of it is about how he roofies women, and people took that as not. I'm not even joking. It's 1979. And every joke is about him roofing women. So supposedly they were jokes, right? There was this old roofie back in the day called Spanish Fly, and it's an hour and a half of him talking Spanish Fly. Then there was the white face Bill Cosby, where he put on a white face, and it was very much a beatnik kind of crowd before that type thing. It wasn't always just the Cosby that is shown up in like a TV show or a TV special. He had gone deeper into the art world as far as portraying himself on stage. There are different versions of him, but the way that he could just take three jokes and turn it into 1 hour long special is almost undoable by anyone else.
Uncanny.
My God, there was maybe Louis C.K. can do it. I mean, and in that exact and not never exactly in that direct way. Norm Macdonald had a not one-liners, but short stories, and then he'd hit you with it. And the way that he used to write them was punchline first, just like the way that you might write songs is where you go chorus first and then backwards from there, or where you don't really even. Have you ever written a song? And I've done this before. You ever written a song where you don't even want a chorus? You just have so many
have
nights.
the hook.
You just have all lyrics and absolutely chaos of no way to get to the hook.
Yeah.
And there's no care to get to the hook either, because every lyric involved is just like, we don't even need it. There's no way I would ever need it.
Yeah, I think I let a song like that slip through the cracks and I never finished it. But there was a song like that where I was like, just couldn't write a hook that made sense. And it never got finished. But
I
now that
would
you're
say
saying
just
that, I was
leave
like,
it,
maybe-
just do it without a hook then, man.
Yeah,
Just
right.
get it out.
Now that you're saying that, I'm kind of thinking like maybe it should have just been verse, verse, refrain, maybe. That's the kind of um a songwriting method where it's like kind of a verse. The verse never really ends, but
It's
you kind
still
of have a way
it's
of,
still going to tell a story, but you don't
yeah.
need the laugh track all the time. You know, like if you're watching a TV show, you don't need the laugh track where it's like, boom, there's the chorus, boom, there's the chorus. You don't, if you can do that, keep people wildly entertained through, I mean, some folk stars back in the day when they went folk electric, kind of like blendy, they were doing something like that where no chorus needed, and they just told a story completely, and you're just like, wow, I don't hate it, I'm gonna listen to it again, sort of thing. But yeah, man, just put it out there. Who cares? Like if that's the first thing you put out, just make sure when you tell the story, say, I was on the Podguyz podcast around 10 p.m. Facebook Live. You can find them on Spotify too. And don't forget about the podguyzpodcast.com. You don't have to say it just like that, make it your own, but make sure to, maybe.
Yeah, I'll just make the name of the song the handle, your like Instagram handle or whatever.
That'd be perfect.
That just what's the name of this song? Why is it just that's fucking great.
It's just a link to this podcast.
Oh my god, it'll be the whatchamacallit code, the QR code.
Like how did he even do that? I didn't even know you could do that. Put a QR code in the name of just a series of dots.
Just break all the rules. Like, this isn't
It'd be
selling
phenomenal.
out. What if it were selling out? This is what it would look like.
Well, we are going to wrap this up real quick. If people were going to listen to you, how would they listen to Flowtone?
So
what is your
either,
favorite streaming app to listen to you?
I think YouTube, Spotify is great. I use Spotify, but I think YouTube is it's accessible by anyone. So you can go look up Flowtone, all one word, on YouTube, and our music video will probably pop up, or one of our songs, or a channel, and that's probably that's most accessible to everyone. So yeah.
Okay.
Or go with the Flowtone. That's our handle for Instagram, TikTok, all that.
Cool. Kevin, if you were going to listen to us, where would you find us?
Well, you can find us on Spotify, iHeartRadio, YouTube. We go live on Facebook 10 p.m. every Monday night. 10:15 is also a frame word right there. Rio Dijo, Apple Podcast. You can literally type in the Podguyz Podcast, and you can find us on all your favorite major streaming whatever the fuck apparatuses. But more importantly, you can find us on merchbooth.com around the podcast section if you want to buy a cool t-shirt, or stand up there for a second, Tony. We have our, drum roll please, wonderful website still in a working fashion right there. Sparky's I Draw What I See t-shirt going for just $24.99 on the podguyzpodcast.com, where we are constantly updating and
marketing. Shameless.
Constantly marketing. If you want to keep us living indoors, buy a fucking t-shirt. Buy 2 t-shirts. Christmas in July is still a thing.
Free shipping.
Free shipping. What, Tony? What?
I know. How dare we?
Free shipping.
Can't go wrong.
They're going to call us the Jeff Bezoses of podcasts very shortly, because free shipping. Holy crap. Mugs are now a thing. We have canvases out there, Sparky gear. If you are a fan of Sparky and anything that he's drawn, we can put it on a canvas for you. We have them all ready to roll from the 50 states.
We already have a fantastic picture. So, Nissim, if you could hold up your right hand real quick, you'll notice that there's a picture if you point your finger upward, we're gonna replace that picture
There you go.
with a Sparky original.
Yeah.
Right, it would go in your home as well.
It adds a fundamental feng shui to any apartment area, any living space too. It is actually we put one of Sparky's pictures next to a sick child. Now he didn't live or anything like that, but I think that he smiled a little bit more than he would have. His parents also asked us to leave, which is fine.
So you can go to Megaphone, you can go to C-Suite Radio as well. And you can also find us on Wise Radio Network as well. So you can find us on a couple different radio networks. You'll find all of our shows. We love them. Love them. Nissim, thank you very much for taking time out of your busy schedule. We really appreciate you coming on. And guys, listen to Flowtone. Check him out. YouTube, Spotify. Awesome band. Chef
Thank you
Jeff.
guys. Thank you guys very much. Really enjoyed the conversation and appreciate it.
No problem. Lots of success, brother. Wish you lots of success. Guys, make sure you like, share, comment below, and we'll talk to you next week. Have a great night.